Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the ex-Jehovah's Witness. I am Mitch, and this is continuing the series of the ex-JW interviews. Today, I have someone very special I hold in high esteem. We met uh, on social media in the ex-JW community. I'd like to introduce Jared. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mitch. Thanks for that introduction, man. Likewise, I look up to you. I look up to you.
I
We got
appreciate
we're very similar, aren't we?
very, as they
Yeah,
will see very
yeah,
soon. And it's
yeah.
just been nice to like have you help me because we all have left at different stages.
Hmm.
I'm still relatively new. I left in December of 2024, but I did not start talking to the ex-JW community until like mid-May. So a
Yeah,
lot of things are still new to me. But you have been one of the
sure.
ones that have figuratively held my hand and
Yeah,
helped me. And I like the things you say. You know, you're positive, you're real, you're honest, and the more I learned about your story, I was like, yeah, they need to know. Especially, we'll get to it later, but it's
hmm,
like this is a very special episode for me. As always, I like to start off to kind of set the foundation for the viewers and the listeners. So, can you tell me a little bit about your life, how long you were a Jehovah's Witness, that sort of thing?
sure. So, I'll start off with I was born into the Jehovah's Witness religion, and I was a third generation Jehovah's Witness. So both of my grandmothers received a knock at the door, and they both decided to follow that course. So that meant that my mother and my father were both pretty much born into it as well. And Dad got baptized when he was 11, so he was in it strong. Mom and Dad were pioneers, full time evangelizers, and then they had me. So my life, I'm at the ripe old age of 48 now. I spent about 40, 41, 42 years as a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Experiencing all
So,
types of stuff in between.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine. And I'm extra excited about speaking with you because I've interviewed other individuals. I would say a good percentage, they became witnesses at some point in their life, whether it was a teen or a young adult. You were
Yeah.
born in it like I was.
Yeah.
We see things a little bit differently. We understand things a little bit differently. And like my wife, she came in it when she was an adult. Some things I mentioned to her, she's just looking at me like, wow. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
that was my life.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to speak with someone who was born into it. Man, your father was baptized at 11.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something. My sister was baptized when she was 9. And
Mm.
I'm just like, wow.
I know. I know, right? Think about what you're not allowed to do as an adult in the United States, or a young adult rather.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then I'm like, oh yeah, but you're basically committing your entire future life in a way at such a
Hmm.
young age. But I think that's what
Yeah,
they want, right?
yep. And
Yeah.
so how old were you when you got baptized?
I was 15, and
Okay.
you know what? They called me the late bloomer because everybody else was getting baptized young, and they were like, man. They even told me, says, if you want to still hang out with your friends, you might want to get baptized. I'm starting to think you
Yeah.
might be a little worldly, and so I didn't want to hear that. So it was immediately, go through the goodness, what 180 questions or something. to,
Yeah.
you know, you read in the Bible, it's like, hey, what prevents me from getting baptized? And they pulled the chariot over and jumped in the water, and then like, no, you don't. Imagine if it said, hey, well, before we get in the water, I need you to answer these 180 questions. You
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. But it was totally performative. It was like I gotta keep my friends because I'm sure we'll talk about it more. that's your whole world. Like you don't have friends that aren't Jehovah's
Hmm.
Witnesses. You're not supposed to. Um, so like I was like, well, I'm going to lose the only thing I got. So yeah, I'm going to get in the water.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
and that's how they. That's very accurate for those of you who may not be familiar with like kind of being born and raised in that religion. That's very accurate. They always told us that no one is forced to get baptized, but there were little things that they said, like
yes.
you just mentioned. You want to keep your friends. They're not gonna be able
Hmm.
to hang with you if you're not
That's right.
baptized.
Yeah.
Another one, I'll see. I won't mention it. I'm gonna see as we progress. But when you got baptized, where did you feel any type of weird way about it, or did you feel like I might not be ready, or I didn't agree with some of this?
You know, it would to me it would be described like I had a friend who was walking down the aisle to get married, and he's like, "What am I doing?" And he went
Mm-hmm.
ahead and got married,
Yeah.
and it didn't work out. And
Mm-hmm.
like he tells me, I'm making a mistake, but I don't want to disappoint anybody. And looking back on it, reflective in that sort, I was like, what did I just do? Because there's that little thing hanging over your head. I had older friends or friends of my friends who had been kicked out or disfellowshipped. And, it was just like, man, I hope I don't mess up. Because, let's just face it, you're in high school, there's plenty of things that are going to get you disfellowshipped. And I was like, oh boy, now, and maybe I add a piece of that puzzle. My middle brother, I got two younger brothers. My middle brother, man, he liked to have fun, and he never
Yeah.
got baptized. And what's amazing, we can talk about that later with the shunning thing, but it's like he's all good with mom and dad because he never made that commitment. They
Wow.
treat him like he's just the normal person. But we had that pressure, like don't mess up, don't mess up because you knew.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is man, you talk about some rat finks, man, JWs will snitch on you in a heartbeat.
Oh
So it's like you either found people to roll with that were all doing wrong so nobody would tell on each other, or but some person would always get convicted and they'd be like, oh, I got Jehovah's seeing it and I've got to, and then the whole group would get taken out. It'd
oh
be a
yeah.
Thursday night, just be a roll call,
Yep.
they and it's happened. But anyway, yeah, so it was definitely there was no, oh man, I I feel so different now. It wasn't a good experience, and I can compare that because actually I got baptized. I call it for real last year.
Oh, okay. All right.
So like I can compare the two experiences and just tell you right now, that was a bunch of malarkey back then.
That is
Terrible.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway,
Okay.
yeah,
And then if you want to progress in the congregation,
yeah.
what do they tell you?
Oh man, you can't just stay baptized. You got to add to it those privileges. So you
Mm-hmm.
gotta I call it the treadmill that it keeps on going up in speed and up in incline. And it ain't you that's hitting it. It's like they're hitting it because your view, like, oh, you want to find a good sister to marry, you got to be a ministerial servant. You need to be pioneering. And so it's always do more, always do more. It's almost like a high pressure sales environment, a very
Mm-hmm.
corporate
Yep.
feel to it. I didn't know what that meant because obviously, my idea of corporate was so different. I worked at McDonald's flipping burgers, so it's just like that's such a different thing. But yeah, it was very much like that.
Mm-hmm.
Your spirituality is not just okay, you're baptized, you're good. Now it's like, oh, now you need to be a ministerial servant. Now you need to pioneer, and then, well, can you be an elder? And then, oh, hey, could y'all work in the RBC or LDC or whatever they call it
Mm-hmm.
nowadays? It's like there was
Yep.
always more, and everybody's trying to one up each other, and
Yeah. Yeah. That too.
so
Yep.
it was insane. Yeah, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
were people doing it for the right reasons? Maybe there were some. I'm not here to judge anybody, but I
Mm-hmm.
know for myself, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
The things that I did for the right reasons was maybe like cutting an older person's lawn or repairing somebody's home that got damaged in a storm. But
Mm.
all that knocking on doors and everything, I was just doing it because it
Yeah.
was got to
But
do it.
it's like, especially when you're young and growing up in that organization, that's one of the things they tell you. Like, for instance, I was 15 and I was like doing everything, the mics, and I was running
Hmm.
sound. But they would always tell me, if you want to do more in the congregation, you're gonna have to get baptized.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, not only do you have you're gonna lose out on friends, but they're also constantly telling you, the elders, they kind of pull you to the side.
Hmm.
You're doing great, but if you want to
Yeah.
do more, like you just said, the treadmill, if you want to do more in the congregation, at some point you're
Hmm.
gonna have to get baptized. So
That's right.
I was 16 and got baptized, and I just, like, the questions that you mentioned, being in it, for 16 years, I just knew what to answer.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yep.
I didn't like section 2 because section 2 is the morality. So
Oh man,
I didn't like section 2 because I was in there lying my butt off. But it's
let me tell you, there were so many lies that were told in them meetings, and the thing is, looking back on it, I'm like, I questioned again, like, okay, y'all say y'all have the Holy Spirit. Why didn't the Holy, I said, Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll rat on you. I says, the Holy Spirit wasn't ratting on me. It didn't come over that elder and go, oh man, I can tell you're lying. It's like, they're like, oh, look at good Jared. And it's like, okay. So you just
yeah,
play the performative game. I'm gonna
yeah,
perform. It's an act. And it's sad because I have had to work so hard to really realize who Jared is. And I hate to speak in that third person or
yeah.
whatever person you want to call it, but it's like I don't know who I was because they don't let you be who you are. And
Hmm.
but you have to break free from that if you want to actually figure out who you are, and then how do you use that for the good. And
Hmm.
then in other aspects of your life, whether it comes to your family relationships, your marriage, your job, all those things, man,
Yeah.
it's like total reprogramming or learning how to walk again.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You and I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
speak to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So baptized as a
Yes.
teen, and you already kind of touched on it. They expect progression.
Hmm.
So what was you like? Uh, were you all in as a teenager, like as far
Oh,
as the going through the motions?
yes, I was all in. And there was that competitive side too, where I can remember there, and I won't mention his name because it's irrelevant. But my my childhood nemesis, I think we always had that one where it was like, who gave a better talk, who who had more Bible studies,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
who did this. Oh yeah, I says, well, guess where my son was, and then the parents get involved and they start bragging on their kids. So it was like I had the pressure of making sure I didn't disappoint my mother and my father because I was the golden boy. I was the golden child of my congregation. And then
Oh
we
my
had we
goodness.
shared. And I laugh. People who are going to listen to this are like, "What the heck are y'all talking about?" But it's like it's true. It was like we shared a kingdom hall with another congregation, and we had our rivalry. It'd be like, I don't know, basketball rivalry in the NBA or whatever. But
Hmm.
it's anyway. Yeah,
That's.
so it's
I mean,
like
yeah, that's very true.
it really so you just tried harder. It was like, man, you just
Hmm.
it was just all about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it was
And
just
I'm
do
glad
all
you
you
brought
can.
that up, because that's another facet. For those of you who may have came in as an adult, but that was a huge facet of it, was the inner competition, if you will. But it was
Hmm.
always, you were just judged on everything, your talks that you gave, your privileges that you had, and
Yeah,
yeah,
judged on how ugly the suit was that you had or the
yeah,
tie because
yeah,
we were broke as all get out. So it was like everything I was wearing was Goodwill.
and
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 so
it
like then
goes
you're getting made fun
contrary.
of. Yeah, it goes
Yeah,
contrary to everything in the
yeah,
Bible. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, it's the way it is.
yeah. So you're
Yeah.
all in,
All in.
progressing. Now, as you're progressing, did you have any doubts as far as doctrine or anything?
You know what's interesting? I'll use one as an example. Like, I actually learned more about the Jehovah's Witnesses after I left than I knew about them when I was in, because I just kind of winged it. I knew how to say the right things, but it's like like, look, I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I used to conduct the Watchtower. I
Hmm.
was the Watchtower conductor, and I would just be like, you could tell if I was disappointed in you when I looked out in the audience. And this sounds terrible saying, I was like, how did you not get the answer right? It'd be like, ask a question and that same question is in the paragraph, and they just bounce all around it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, holy moly. I
Yeah.
say that to the point it's like I could literally go in and give like this top tier comment, and it wasn't Holy Spirit. It was just me, like, not I'm not smart. Just I'm average, but I'm like, you
Yeah.
didn't have to be smart to, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so it's like, again, you knew it's like, okay, I know how to play the game, and I know
Mm.
how to, if I, it wasn't about, would that person be somebody you'd want to be an elder? It wasn't about that. It was like, man, Jared's got 12 hours a month. He goes to all the meetings. He comments regularly. And I know that that's what they were looking for
Oh
because
yeah.
I became that. And then I
Yeah.
would listen to when we would go over somebody's qualifications to decide if they were going to be appointed as a ministerial servant or as an elder. That's what we were looking at.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was that was it.
And that's the honest truth. Like, and I tell people, I've said it on some of my videos. Like, I was a ministerial servant 3 different times. I
Yeah.
knew how to play the game. Like,
Yeah.
when I was ready, and I would tell my wife, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna do what I need to do again and
Hmm.
get appointed. But it's like,
Yeah.
you know how to play the game. When did you first? When were you appointed a ministerial servant? At what age?
Well, now I can't give you an exact year, but I was probably, I think I was about 19 or 20.
Oh wow, young.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It was before I when I got married in 2001. I was already ministerial servant.
okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
yes, a
You
pioneer
you
first and then ministerial servant.
okay? Oh man, a pioneer in the ministerial service. I bet all the
Yeah,
sisters are after you.
and oh man, and working full time. Had a full time job. I was doing it all. Let me tell you, Mitch, I was the man.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
You
it's
you
yeah,
you you
people
had
are
a you
listening. They're like, what is this mess he's talking about? And it's like, but I mean,
no.
my whole personality and my whole feeling of worth was based on those things. It wasn't just that I was a pioneer. It's like he's pioneering and working full time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it to save anybody's life. I was doing it because I wanted the feeling of like I was doing something good.
Yeah.
I was, you know, I don't even know if I say I was being good in Jehovah's eyes. It was more about just wanting people to be happy with me. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Now you
to feel loved.
we're
Um,
similar in age. I'm a little bit older than you, but you mentioned pioneering. That's when pioneering were the real hours.
the real hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Now they got this fake hour. They don't even count
Yeah.
hours. I don't even know.
No,
Yeah,
you pioneered when it was real and a full time job.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Man.
So
And so then ministerial servant. About how long was it before you became an elder?
I got appointed as an elder when I was 38.
Okay.
No,
So
38, 38, 28. Sorry. I
28.
was like
Okay.
38, 38. No way. Oh, that's
Okay.
really messed up. No, 28. So
28.
it was 2004 or 5 was
Okay.
about then. Yeah. Yep.
You became an elder then. I was like on my way out.
Yeah.
I was being I was about to be disfellowship.
Well,
But
I think they just lowered the standard, Mitch, because they was like, we need somebody because the congregation was old, and they were like, they were like, because like within a year they were like, they made me be the service overseer. So you got,
wow.
yeah, I was like, what? And they're like,
But you
no,
were a
you'll be
pioneer
fine.
though. You were a pioneer.
Yeah. Well, I had to step down from pioneering. Like,
But still, they knew you. I
they
say
knew I
that to
knew,
yeah. That's
but
why
I was like, I
yeah.
can't do all of this. I had to. I told them, I was like, well, I don't know. Should I step down from being a ministerial servant, or should I step down from being a pioneer? And they're like, step down from being a pioneer,
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
That's what they're gonna say.
yeah, yeah. I was like, y'all tell me, because I can't do both.
Yeah, they're gonna shoot down the pioneer first.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
28. That's for okay to be an elder because you know the qualifications to be an elder. I always tell because a lot of people in the organization they kind of glossed over this fact, but to be a ministerial servant, like in the organized book,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 15 paragraphs in that chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be the qualifications of an elder or an overseer, they call it. That chapter had like 63, 64 paragraphs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
to be 28,
Mm-hmm.
that's still relatively like a young adult.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What what business did I have? Because I mean, when people hear elders, like, what did you do? It's like, oh, you'd be sitting in on counseling sessions with married couples that are having problems in the bedroom or having problems otherwise. Or
Yeah.
where am I to be involved with that? I didn't have any children, and yet you got me talking about giving counsel to parents on how they're treating their kids. Man,
Hmm.
it actually makes me sick thinking about it. Back in the day, like, I did all that. And I'm like, I had no business doing any of that.
Hmm.
Um, but that's the way it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's the way it was. So
Did you? Was there any part of being an elder that bothered you or you didn't like?
yes, I absolutely. Um, there were nights where I went home and wept and couldn't sleep because of judicial committees. And that's, what's interesting is the more I became involved in the organization, the more that I had started to wake up as to this is not it. And I say that because, everything we were looking at when it came to someone's qualifications or looking at are they repentant or not was really so independent of God, so independent of saying, "Oh, we prayed for Holy Spirit." Yeah, but then we made a man decision. We had three men that sit together and decide, and it's like you can have two against one. We had that one time
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
I was the dissenter,
Yeah.
and that was a particular case where the individual had just done something wrong one time, and the one elder, he just didn't like that family. And I'm sure you can speak to it too. That, man, there were your favorites and there were your not so
Oh yeah.
favorites, and the decision was to disfellowship him. And this young man tried to kill himself. He was so depressed and distraught over losing contact with his family over shunning. You talk about carrying a heavy weight. Um, I felt a sense of relief when he got reinstated
Mm. Okay.
because I was like, I felt like I had blood on my hands.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing about that is to go into, like, if you're favored or not. The one brother who was an elder on that committee with me, well, his daughter had like a whole summer of just, knocking boots all summer long with
Oh my
somebody, and
goodness.
they did private reproof. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I've got justice sensitivity. I think that's one of the things that I struggle with is I hate injustice. And I know that
Hmm.
it's a pipe dream to think we can live in a world that has true justice. But there's so many things that I feel like are kind of black and white. Like,
Mm.
okay, how can you do this in this case?
Yeah.
And then in this case, there's no mercy given. And it was a popularity contest. And you know,
Hmm.
it, if you want to have a popularity contest in high school, who the homecoming queen is or whatever, or king, big deal. But
Hmm.
these type of decisions were actually destroying people's lives,
Yeah.
especially because of the shunning. So
Hmm.
that was brutal. The second part to that is dealing with situations where people's lives were involved from a medical standpoint. And I never will forget, there was a young woman. She had three little kids, and she was struggling with leukemia. And of course, I wasn't. That's one thing I'm glad I wasn't a part of, was the hospital liaison committee, which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
excuse me, the committee that basically goes in there and prevents people from getting the health care that they need to save their life. It's under the guise of following scripture, which is erroneous. That's not even correct interpretation. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress, Mitch. But I watched these three kids kiss their mama goodbye and said, "We'll see you in the paradise," and that broke me because we had field service groups because it went from book study to field service groups,
Mm-hmm.
and she was in my field service group, and so I knew her and her husband well, and that broke her husband. He actually left. He left over that, and one of
Wow.
his sons did leave too eventually. Good for them, but that doesn't change the fact that a wife and a mother is gone.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so that's two things. Judicial committees and those type of things, man,
Yeah.
became super heavy, super heavy.
I can't even imagine. And so you have that going on. When you're an elder, you talk. You give talks and public talks and
Hmm.
things like that.
Yep.
At that point in your life, is it anything as far as doctrine that you're kind of questioning or doubting?
Yeah. Um, I the whole generation thing.
Yeah.
Because the thing is people this is when I was just like going through, not through, yeah, going through the motions. That's the right way to say it. But
Hmm.
it's like
Yeah.
they kind of changed the doctrine in the 90s.
Yep.
So backstory, my uncle, he's passed away, but he was like my spiritual father. He was the one that I really looked to for guidance. He was like a walking encyclopedia, and he knew the Greek and the Hebrew and all that. But I can remember we were driving, they lived in Atlanta, and we're driving down the interstate in Atlanta, Georgia, and this was right before it was the Olympics, '96. So this was
Mm.
this was when they were building the stadium up and all that. So
Yep.
this was like '92 or '93. And he's like, Jared, I got to tell you, he's like, we're not going to have no Olympics. This is the end's going to be here. This is the new system will be here. And of course, I'm like, okay, sounds great and everything. And I was like, why do you say that? And of course, it was based on the generation,
Yeah.
that 1914 generation. He's like, they're all old and they're all dying. They were basically dying off left and right.
Yeah.
And then they came out with that new teaching. This is before the overlapping. They just came out with,
Yeah.
like if they were just alive, then that gave them a little bit of room so that people technically you could be 100 in 2014.
Mm.
We all know how that went. But
Yep. Yeah.
so if you knew somebody that was alive from 1914, now you're good. So they bought themselves to about what, 2050,
Hmm.
2060.
Yeah. That was it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, but that was where I was like, that doesn't make sense. But you know what? You talk about these things. These are like little chinks in the armor. Like you look at
Hmm.
your house, you're like, what's that mold spot over there? What's that piece of paint that's flaking off? And you
Hmm.
just ignore it. And it's like, so all those things were happening. People were knocking out pieces of my armor when they bring things to my attention. Um, so that's when the collapse happened later on. But there
Yeah.
was there was definitely some doubts.
Hmm.
But it was just like you were so busy trying to people please that you didn't sit back and think about what you actually believed.
Yeah. And that was the same. That was a huge one for me because I based my whole spiritual life and planning for the future in high school based off of that
Yeah,
that generation.
yeah,
The end would come, and yeah, I was like your uncle. That's how I felt.
yeah.
And like first it was like I probably won't get to high school. I probably
Hmm.
won't graduate high school. I probably won't get to 21. you know, it's just
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
that raised doubts in me too. But the way we were raised, you don't talk about doubts.
Well, no, because
Keep
doubts all of a
chugging
sudden
along.
that you being, oh man, I says, how's your faith, brother? You
Yeah,
you you got doubts? That's apostate thinking.
yeah,
And you read in the Bible, man, the Bible is full of all these good apostates, people that doubted. People actually asked God, like Moses was questioning God left and right. Moses isn't an apostate, is he? I don't,
yeah.
regardless of whether you believe the Bible or not, I'm just saying like their own logic didn't hold up to their source
Hmm.
that they were supposed to be living by. That's the
Yeah.
key.
That confused me a lot too because they would always have these different phrases. Test your faith. Uh, you can question who was it, the Bereans,
Yeah.
and they wanted to find out more information and see if it was true.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but like you said, as soon as you do, they're looking at you
Mm-hmm.
like, why are you saying
Yeah,
that? Why do you have questions like that? But it's like that bothered me a lot throughout the years.
I'm
It's
sure.
just figuring out you couldn't say anything. It was only one person I could really trust. And when I think you mentioned like what was it, like 2015, 2016, when they had the whole overlapping generation thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I told someone after that meeting, I went up to him, I was like, I don't feel comfortable. Like
Yeah.
I don't like this. And we could talk openly. He was the only
Mm-hmm.
one I could tell that to though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really started having doubts then. But I'm
Yeah.
a ministerial servant. What am I gonna do? Like,
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. 100%.
yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah.
So another thing, because I've been so excited to interview an elder, and I
Mm-hmm.
interviewed one, great interview, but he was an elder for a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, you were an elder for a good amount of time.
Yes.
So I've been excited to interview an elder because there's another part of being an elder that bothers some that I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
What might that be?
You're gonna have to give me more than that because there's a lot of things that bother me, Mitch. See, we
I'll
talked,
give
we
you a
talked, we
hint.
talked, we talked a lot before we recorded this, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm bringing, I'm like, oh man, I forgot about that too, and
No,
but
I'll give you a
we got to
hint.
keep it, we got
It's
to keep it short,
a
or we'll
hot
be like, this is
topic. A hot
yes.
topic. It's in court cases around the world.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we were gonna have to hit this one, weren't we?
Oh
So,
yeah.
I think this is the most vile thing ever, and that is when somebody decides to act inappropriately towards a child. So we're talking about child sex abuse. And you know what? They dog so much on other religions, like they really. I mean, they would attack Catholicism in the magazines. You'd see it. Was that Watching the World and the Awake, and they'd say it from talks on the stage and stuff. Um, and yet the Jehovah's Witnesses were just as guilty of it. Now, what's interesting is I had personally seen these type of things happen where we had to deal with them because I was the congregation secretary, and that means that I was in charge of correspondence because there was that transition between paper stuff and electronic communication. But when it came to things like that, they're like, don't send that in an email. You need to call Patterson, call the legal department. And I remember one time we got a letter from a congregation a long way away from the area that I was in, and I'll try to keep this as, that way you don't have to redact anything. But the thing is, there is like this happened. The letter came in. It was like, hey, um, when this person when they're at the meetings, don't let them go to the bathroom by themselves,
Yeah.
and they also can't be out in field service with any children without giving you any more information. And then they give you this code that you have to read off at the bottom of the letter when you call Patterson. It's like calling in. I mean, it's this is a serious subject, so I'm not gonna make light of it. But it
Yeah.
was literally like some spy movie or CIA where you call in and be like,
Mm-hmm.
this is Agent so and so calling. It was like, well, this is so and so. They had to like look up your name and make sure you were for real, and then you had to read off this code, and then they're like, okay, we're all clear now, so we can talk about this. And they would give you more
Wow.
information. They'd give you more information on this particular case. They still didn't tell you everything. And then they would also give you advice from a legal standpoint on whether you should contact the authorities or not. So I'm just like, this isn't right because you've got this dude who's in our meetings and nobody knows. Like some people I think are very attuned. but like they're taught to be so innocent that if I like Mitch, for instance, if I was like, if you and I were in the same hall together, and let's say you weren't a servant or an elder, I'd be like, hey Mitch, I was like, just want to let you know, I says it'd be good if let's say you had three kids, like your kids is like, y'all shouldn't go out in field service with so and so, you know, you're going to start what, why, or everything like that.
Yeah.
And so they didn't even afford us that opportunity too. They would just be like, well, I think people will get the hint when they understand what's going on here. But so we had attendants in the congregation. They'd kind of like be ushers. You call them ushers in other
Mhm.
religions, but they'd stand up and walk in there with them. So like as an elder, you couldn't tell the minute there was a level of this is above your pay grade, Mitch. I can't tell you because you're
Yeah.
only a ministerial servant. So I just said, just make sure you walk in there with them, and that's all I
Mhm.
would tell you. And I'm
Mhm.
like, why are we not like, look, you know what? If you want to say, hey, everybody has a chance for salvation, good, but let God judge them, not us. We got to
Mhm.
protect the congregation, and that wasn't the case. And this happened a couple of times, and that was right around the time where I found some things out that realized just how global the CSA problem was in the Jehovah's Witness religion, and that it expanded beyond just one here or two there. It was thousands.
Wow.
Australia, the ARC,
Yeah.
Australian Royal Commission. There's a lot of cases that are of notoriety within the United States. I
Mhm.
mean, they're there. It's not like this isn't some rumor. This isn't, hey, did you hear about the doll that got up and ran out of the Kingdom Hall and it was
Yes.
demon possessed or whatever.
Yeah.
These are court cases.
Yep.
This is really happened. These people have went to jail for it and
Mhm.
nothing was done. And so
Yeah.
and the thing is obviously I love the internet because people post the new elders manuals out before the elders even get them, which is just hilarious to me because that means they got moles up in Bethel.
I'm telling people that. Yeah.
Like, yeah. But anyway, and make sure to ask me about that book because I got something to say about that too when it
Okay.
comes to rules for thee and not for me. Or
All right.
but with that CSA thing, that impacted me so much. And I can even remember speaking to my uncle, and he told me about something that happened in the '80s where it just like they protected the person instead of basically taking it the right action, and that was to go to the authorities. And there's this fear, well, if I go to the authorities, then I'm going to get labeled as, oh, you're not working in line with God's direction, and we just need to trust Jehovah. We need to he'll do the right thing, but we don't want to besmirch the name of Jehovah and bring reproach on the congregation. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Mhm.
But to my fault, I would say that it wasn't an immediate action. It was more about, I can't believe this is going on. So there was like a cognitive dissonance going on where
Mhm.
my mind, my heart, all of it was all over the place.
Yeah. And I,
Yeah.
I'm so happy you bringing all of this out because I've mentioned this on different videos, and some people are like in disbelief, and that's why I wanted to talk to an elder
Yeah.
so that they can know it's like it's bigger than me. Like I'm telling you
Hmm.
accounts of what I've seen.
Yes.
Just to mention, I was a ministerial servant, so this is the third time I'm a ministerial servant. I'm like 53. No lie, we had like 14 elders. I'm older. I was older than like 80% of the elder body.
Mm.
So I was a ministerial servant, and I was over AV department, and I was over the attendants. But they told me a lot, like how you mentioned. They kind of, they stop at a certain point telling ministerial servants. But they
Hmm.
told me about one particular guy, and then it's public record, so my wife looked him up.
Mm.
I find out what he did, and I'm livid.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I want to know why we can't ban him from coming to the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
But it's like the things, and all I can tell the other attendants, if they aren't elders, is like you said, if he goes to the restroom, watch him.
Hmm.
This guy he would hold up
Yeah.
his phone like this, and
Yeah.
a couple of elders saw him recording. like in the direction of children.
Yeah.
So if we saw his phone up like that, we approach him. I would physically get up and go stand right behind him, no matter where he was in the auditorium, and just stare at him. And he would put his
Hmm.
phone down because I did
Yep.
not like him at all. And you know, like to go with what you said, I, they don't want anybody to know in the congregation.
No.
But
No.
yet he's out in the field ministry,
Yeah.
working with families. He's at the
Endangering
Kingdom
other. Yeah. He's.
Hall. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that did not sit right with me.
No.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Because I
Nope.
have children, and
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. I told my family, like, yeah, steer clear of him.
Yeah.
You know, we had a young daughter. I'm like, don't go by him.
Hmm.
You know,
Yep.
and personally, I feel like that's owed to the congregation.
Hmm.
And the more I found out about this and what goes on and how they operate, you know, I'll just live it.
Oh.
Because I was born and raised in it like you.
Yeah.
I defended the organization because, like you said,
Oh.
they dog other religions. They dog the Catholics. You know, look at what
Hmm.
they're doing, but we're not like this.
Yeah.
When I was in, I was all in. I didn't want to hear
Hmm.
people talk about,
That's right. You
and I
shut it
would
down
defend.
mentally. You'd be
Yeah,
like, nope. Yep.
I would
Yep.
defend the organization.
Yep.
So when I started finding this out, and I was like, I really have to talk to an elder to get
Mm.
the full scoop.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no reason to make this up. Like,
Mm-mm,
they tell, oh, apostate lies, and I'm like,
mm-mm.
no, it's
Yeah,
not.
because like you said,
Um,
it's a matter of court systems.
yeah.
Easy to look up.
It's easy
You
to
know.
look up, and there's correspondence between the branch and the congregations that have been leaked online, and you can read
Hmm.
those.
Yeah.
Um, there's so much stuff out there. Even the Shepherd the Flock of God book has specific instruction in it that just like goes a little bit contrary to things, and I just go, like, I'll use it for instance. In the community, we have this mentor program where we can go and be a lunch buddy for kids that maybe are in foster care or whatever. And it's like we have to go through this Raptor system where they run a background check on you. I mean, it's pretty intense, and it's like,
Hmm.
why do they do that? Because they're protecting our most valuable asset, our
Yeah.
valuable possession. That's our children. Because the
Yeah.
innocence of a child is something that cannot be given back to them when it's taken away.
Hmm.
We don't do that back in the day, and they still don't do it as Jehovah's Witnesses. They rely on, if Jehovah's supposed to sprinkle that magic fairy dust over the elders, so they go, yeah, I sense a disturbance in the force, and no. So these people are there. So if you are criminally minded, whether it's you have that attraction to little kids, or you are you like to do bad things, whatever it is, and it's like, and you get to be in an environment where that is allowed, what do you think the people are going to flock to? It scares me to think about how many people are associated with Jehovah's Witnesses that are pedophiles. It because even with a background check, people sneak through the cracks, right?
Hmm.
They're crafty. They are mentally ill. They're sick.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with them.
Hmm.
And to know, oh, I can go here and I'll be loved on, and they'll let me continue to do everything.
Yeah.
Oh, can't serve as an elder, a ministerial servant, as a pioneer, but we can't take field service away from them. So you're saying you can still let them go into neighborhoods where there's other people's kids. I wonder what people would think in neighborhoods if they knew that it could be a pedo knocking on their door and the little kid.
Yeah.
And how many times did little kids answer the door when you knocked on the door? It
Oh,
happened.
lots,
And
lots. Yeah.
the parents might send the kid to the door, like, go see who it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do they realize like it could have been a pedo knocking on their
Yeah.
door?
Yeah.
It it makes me sick, Mitch. It makes
Hmm.
me sick. And but
Uh,
that's what's still going on. They can say whatever they want, but
hmm.
there's still cases going on. They can say they're isolated, but
No.
they've got they've
Now,
got the records. They got the receipts.
answer this because
Yes.
a lot of my listeners they have this question: is there a database at headquarters of individuals from around the world that are marked like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not just them. We all have. I mean, we've all got a record there. Mitch, you and I are probably on their most wanted list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's like there's a personal file on every single publisher,
Hmm.
and that's why do you think when I had to call with that code in, that was related because they had the information. They were able to pull it up.
Hmm.
You
And
know.
that's why I'm telling people that again. I'm asking you something so they can hear it from someone who used to be an
Hmm.
elder. But
Yep.
yeah, they have a file on me, a thick file.
Yep. Yeah.
And they would refer to that file like every time I came up for appointment.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
now we have this,
Hmm.
this, and this, but if you all as a body feel comfortable appointing him, it's they basically saying it's on you all.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they have a
Yeah.
file.
You know how I know? Because one time we were trying to appoint somebody and it kicked back because the circuit overseer sent it in and they said, well, we got to check on this because in the other congregation they served in, they actually were publicly reproved. There's
Hmm.
there's this blue envelope that they send in. I don't know if they do it now because again, I can't. My knowledge of that is now very
Yeah.
very old in relative terms. Because I disassociated in 2019,
Okay.
um, but that blue envelope was that letter that was sent in like, hey, they're getting disfellowshipped, and it had the details in there, and there's specific questions in there, even related. So like they want to pat themselves on the back. Well, we're recording it, and I'm like, that'd be like you watching a grandma get beat up, and you're recording it and streaming it on TikTok, and you're not stepping in to stop the person from
Yeah.
creating the problem.
Yeah.
It's we know, but we're not going to tell everybody.
Man. Now, did you personally? Because
Hmm.
I'm hearing this from different people I'm meeting, and it's like breaking my heart. Some got abused as a child.
Yes.
They may have accused the person, and there may have been meetings,
Hmm.
but it was dismissed.
Yes.
And the person they're accused they're still giving talks and commenting while that poor child is
Hmm.
in the audience looking at them. Did you know
Yep.
of anything like that as an elder?
So this would be, I guess you consider it secondhand in the sense that it happened to my uncle, and my uncle made sure to share that with me. That there was an elder back in the 80s, and their daughter accused him of being inappropriate, and he denied it, and nothing was done because there was not two witnesses to it. Yeah. So basically, and they doubled down on that recently. I saw a video. They're like,
Hmm.
how many rapes, child sex abuse goes out there where there's like two people that saw it or another person that saw it and like let's go to get because so much of that happens unfortunately, and this is not a Jehovah's Witness thing.
Hmm.
CSA happens a lot within families.
Yeah.
I was a victim of it
Yeah.
as an early child by a family member, a very close family member. So I can speak very passionately about this. That it silences the victims when you'll get made out to be the bad person. These are baseless. Why are they baseless? Well, because you don't have a second person.
Yep.
And I think about
Yep.
that as the most asinine thing that I've ever heard when it comes
Hmm.
to establishing whether something happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, but that's yeah. So anyway, that person kept on serving, and you know
That
that
is
that that
foul.
that that was foul is right. And it's interesting is my uncle actually he told me he's like that's one of the things that he says I gotta ask God one day if I can talk to him. Like he he did not agree with that.
Hmm.
But hey, we don't want to question the governing body because
Hmm.
the governing body is here, and then God is here. It's always
Hmm.
like even you go back to the doubt thing. You could say I'm having doubts about whether Jehovah loves me, man. They be loving on you and everything. But if you say I really have doubts that the governing body is really leading us in the right way. Man, you've been jerked up out of your chair, and they would have had a committee on you. My
Yeah.
I can and to speak to that,
Yeah.
stepping forward is like when I disassociated, and I remember sending my parents a letter. I was like, here I am, a grown man. I'm 2019, so I'm 42 years old, just turned 43 actually, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I says, I just want to have a relationship with you in the sense that I just want to. I used to go over there every Wednesday and have dinner with them, and I love my mom and dad, and I begged them and I listed 10 scriptures that just showed why shunning isn't scriptural. And they said, my dad wrote back to me in an email. He said, we know what those verses say, but we have to be loyal to the governing body. And that's just a degree of brainwashing
Mhm.
that you elevate anybody over God's word if that's the authority that you choose to use for your guidance.
Mhm.
And so that just, but that's where they've established themselves as between the people and God,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's so you go, yeah, two witnesses doesn't make any sense, but you know what? That's what the governing body said, so we're going to go with it, you
Mhm.
know. And then they then hit you with the other one where they're like, and if you question them, even if sometimes it might not make sense, still,
Mhm.
still got to go along with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That it brings up a great point. That two witness rule, because that's a hot point for a lot of ex witnesses, especially if
Mm-hmm.
they've been abused. And my heart goes
Mm-hmm.
out to them. I would like you mentioned, that happened to me too when I was young by a
Yeah.
relative.
Yeah.
You think somebody's supposed to be safe because they're a family member, but they turn out to be evil. And so yeah, it happened to me
Mm-hmm.
too. And so
Mm-hmm. I'm
like
sorry that happened.
yeah, it's crazy because I can't, like, in my head. Okay, it's a relative. They were no part of the organization. It strikes me as just evil that people in the organization are doing this
Mm-hmm.
and still holding position, and the organization
Yeah.
won't
Yeah.
do anything because of this stupid two witness rule.
Yeah.
I haven't verified this, but
Yes.
I've heard that it was, and I forget his name. It was a governing body member like a long time ago, and somebody said he came up with the two witness rule because he got in trouble for his involvement with children.
It was
I have to
it was
verify it.
Greenless or Chitty. They've been dead forever, but that was in the 70s. You can look up
Yeah,
their story on
and I need to look it up.
yeah,
Yeah,
jwfacts.com. I think gets
yeah,
into a little
I
bit of
love
that.
that website.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always on there.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's like to have that happen organizational wide, it is sickening, and it
Hmm.
shows me and others that is far from the true religion.
That's right.
You know.
What's interesting though, Mitch, is that like I think that they pull this, and you see this type of argument when it comes to politics, religion, anything. It's like, yeah, well, show me a religion that doesn't have, somebody that got
Oh my
abused or
goodness.
whatever, or show me one
Hmm.
that doesn't. And I'm like, you can't prevent evil in this world, but what you can do is you can try to prevent it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that they do as far as their policies that prevent it.
Mm.
You know, if
No.
someone wants to commit an evil act, you can try to prevent it. But can you prevent 100%? Absolutely not. But that'd just be like, well, you know what? I'm, I'm not going to wear my seatbelt because I heard one time there was this dude that died in an accident because he couldn't get out of his seatbelt. It's just like that,
Hmm.
those weird logic, but that's what they do. They try to reason in a way that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's what that's the reality of it. And that stuff burns me up,
Oh yeah.
burns me up, you know,
Yeah.
because you can't get that back once you've lost that. That child has to
No.
carry that with them for their every day on this earth.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like me personally that messed me up
Hmm.
all my life. I even went into counseling, and so much of how I lived my life and acted out. I didn't know this, but it
Hmm.
was subliminally because of what happened to me when I was young.
Yeah.
It's the way
Yeah.
I lived and carried out my life. And
Hmm.
so it's like
Yeah.
the things that they've put people through, and what's sad to me really is that I speak to a lot of these they're adults now, and they tell me about ones that you mentioned, like you mentioned earlier. Some have, they've committed suicide because of it.
Hmm.
That really
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
angered me. The
Yeah.
more and more I found out about that, because
Hmm.
it just shows me like how evil that organization is. That they don't care. They don't.
Hmm.
You know what they care about? They care about protecting their money.
Yeah. Well, they're losing it, you know.
Yeah.
If
And
nobody's getting, you know, they don't, the clergy don't, their clergy class don't get paid a salary. Um, where's the money going? They need all that money sent in.
yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Cover
you can
those
look that up.
lawsuits.
You can look that up. There's payments that are made all the
Oh yeah.
time.
Out now that looking up that aspect of it too, and I encourage the viewers and listeners, like, do your due diligence. But
Hmm.
my mind was blown when I just started looking at how much we're talking multi millions that they've been paying out
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
And you don't settle unless you want it to go quiet.
That's right. That's right.
But you made a good point earlier, a few minutes ago,
Hmm.
because you said any other organization, they're gonna like try to vet a person.
Hmm.
Someone they thought I was playing at first, but when you go in, when they're telling you you're going to be appointed for a ministerial servant or an elder,
Hmm.
and you can attest to this,
Yes.
they ask you a question about, have you been accused or have you been involved with anything that do with children or anything like
Hmm.
that.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
look
They
at them
do.
and you
100%.
say no, and they move on.
That's right. They move on. It's no different than the question I ask you if you want to get married in the Kingdom Hall is like, hey, did y'all have sex before you got married? You know your mom and dad, they spent all that money on all this stuff. You ain't gonna say, yeah, we did, because then you're done for. Then there's gonna be a judicial committee, and then
hmm
they got to ask, well, how many times and when and where, and then pervert
Yep.
elder's gonna ask all them intimate questions that's none of their business
hmm
anyway. And it's like, it's insane. It's insane. But they put that on the same level, as CSA. And
hmm
yeah, you just got to answer. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't I know. Just nope, nope.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then they make the announcement that night.
Yeah. And
That's what's
that's
crazy
what.
is
Yeah.
they got it all figured out before they even make the announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
you know.
scares me just to think how many predators are in the organization that they don't even know about.
Yep.
Like that's staggering,
Yep.
and then like you mentioned earlier too, like the average person in the congregation, they're there to listen and to learn and
Yeah.
social and everything.
Yeah.
I Because I knew different things, I looked at things differently. But
Mhm.
if a brother has been going there a long time and he's
Mhm.
not doing anything like extra privileges and everything, it always raised a question in my head.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what's up with
Yeah.
him. The average person don't
Mhm.
think like that though. But
No.
my father, he was an elder
I
for so
would. I'd be
long.
asking.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah.
why
And,
ain't they an elder?
and see, we've been around so long and we kind of like, but yeah, the average
Mhm.
person, but yeah, they're just mingling around with the
Mhm.
organization and
Yep.
know they know about some, but others they don't even know about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But it's
yeah.
crazy to me. Like that's why I'm glad you're here because I wanted individuals to know that it's not just me talking. They can hear it from someone who used to be an elder.
Mhm.
Um, because it's a huge. That's one of the hugest talking points for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses because they,
Yep.
they like to label us as apostates and crazy, mentally diseased, but we're telling people facts,
Yes.
and I just try to inform people. I want people
Yeah.
informed, especially if it's someone in the organization or there's someone studying. I get a lot of people reaching out to me that are studying or thinking about it because a witness keeps asking them, and they
Mm-hmm.
just want to know the truth. And that's why I do what I
Yeah.
do, just
Yeah.
to bring honest transparency to the organization.
That's right.
Uh, and that is a that's huge for me. People need to know it.
Man, you got to keep
Hmm.
on keeping on doing this because
Hmm.
it's so interesting too, the difference between being born into it and then choosing to be in it, because the way it's presented, um, it is appealing at first glance.
Hmm.
Because man, just face it, the world sucks. It's terrible, and it keeps getting crazier day after day. And you take someone that's desperate.
Hmm.
Why do you think that the people that buy the most lottery tickets are those that are the ones that can't afford them?
Yeah.
They're hopeful, and there's nothing wrong with being hopeful, but it's like they're not going to win. And it's like the lottery in this case is a panda paradise. I'll see my loved ones again, because grief, losing a loved one in death, or losing a child, losing a parent, those things, man, they hurt. And to
Hmm.
be told that's all going to get fixed, and you know, I believe in that, but not
Hmm.
exactly the way they say it.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that what you have to trade for that. Why do they want to get you baptized? Because then you're done for.
Yeah.
If you ever actually start thinking logically and have critical thinking skills, you know,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's yeah,
That, that's what made a lot of elders not really care for me, because
yeah.
I always ask the questions.
Oh man, you don't need to be asking those questions, brother. You just need to go along with everything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm,
Now, another thing you mentioned, and this is man, my heart goes out to everyone who has to go through this, but the shunning part of it.
yes.
When you said it perfectly earlier, because I'm always saying this in my videos, they will treat a person who just got out of jail and came to the Kingdom Hall on a Sunday. They will treat that person so much differently than they will someone who is removed, they call it now, or disfellowship.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I never really agreed with that about just cutting off all communication. Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard.
yeah. One of the things that kind of woke me up. So obviously, my process of waking up started in 2014.
No. Okay.
2017, my grandmother died, and so my dad's older brother was disfellowshipped since like the mid 80s, right? So nobody talked to Uncle Bob. I'll just call him Uncle Bob. But nobody talked to him. And then we're at the memorial service for my grandma, and of course he's there. That's his mama, you know. And they lived on a farm up in Indiana, and so they uh, they actually came over there, and it was like an exemption day where everybody can hang out. My dad's talking to them, and I'm just like, I was confused because I'm just like, we're not supposed to be talking to this person,
Mm.
and yet, well, it's okay today. The elders said that you don't want to, when you have like something like this happen, it's okay to talk to them. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, well, why can't you talk to them and show love and concern all the other days? You know,
Yeah.
and it just I filed it away, and that was just
Hmm.
just one more thing in the big box of doubts and reasons to leave that were
Hmm.
there. But that shunning, man, I've had when I got announced, because like there was no like, we know Jared's a goner. It was straight up. I think I have a picture. I took a selfie of myself. I'll send it to
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
I was like, last meeting ever, because I decided at that point I went scorched earth, sent my letter in. And the interesting thing is when you when you were an elder and you served and you know how it all is and you know the game,
Mm-hmm.
man, you can mess with them because you're just like, you're like, no, I'm not going to meet with y'all. Well, we need to confirm this. You wrote this letter. I'm like, it's my handwriting. It's just like,
Yep.
and they actually they they came to the house and opened up, and I opened up the door and I was like, how's it going, y'all? And it's like, we just want to know if this was indeed the letter you wrote. And I'm like, absolutely, it was. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it was so clinical and so sterile. And
Mm-hmm.
this just shows you how brainwashed everybody is. Because Mitch, I hardly know you, but you are my fellow human being on this earth,
Mm-hmm.
and I would try my best to save you just like I would save anybody else if I saw harm coming your way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, man, my childhood friends didn't even call me and say, "What the bleep are you doing? What's wrong?"
Yeah.
Nobody, nothing,
Yeah.
zero, zilch. And you know what that
Yeah.
did on that day? Is it confirmed with me that I made the right choice?
Yeah.
Because I never want to be friends with anybody or be a part of anything or anyone where they're going to just let me be if in their eyes I made a dumb decision. Because in their eyes, obviously I did. But it was just like, then it makes me
Yeah.
go, maybe they know that it's all BS and they just are going to play the game. And where I was going with that is that I had several people who reached out to me and like, man, I envy you because I can't do that.
Wow.
There's
Wow.
people that they're in business with their family, and so they know they
Yeah.
would lose everything. And I look at it, I'm like, you, some people get judgy. Like I'm just gonna call it out there, man. On social media, some of these people get super toxic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the one thing that you should never do, and I hate to use never and always because those are
Mm-hmm.
universalizations and it's not cool, but I will say this. You should never judge somebody for why they decide to stay or why they decide to leave because it is a personal choice and you
Yes.
have no idea what it is that they're thinking and what they're going to go through.
Yeah.
And also, you got to be patient with people because I literally said, this is all a bunch of bull crap in 2014. And look how long it took. It took me over 5 years to process
Yeah.
the idea of losing everything,
Mm-hmm.
So that's my little soapbox. I'll step down
Yeah.
off of that, but I just,
No, but that
it's
that's
just
a
like,
lot.
it's strong,
Yeah.
man. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, that shunning is absolutely horrible,
Yeah.
horrible. And why won't they get rid of it? Let's just say, let's see, you and I, man, we got these apostate beards now, but they're not apostate beards because you can have a beard
You can
now.
have a
They're
beard.
taking away all my things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like you ain't got to count time anymore. I'm waiting for the birthdays, because
Oh.
I got in trouble one time. I said happy birthday to somebody because I just didn't want to deal with the
Oh
BS at
boy.
work, and I got ratted out by somebody. They
Oh
said
boy.
they said we heard Jared said happy birthday. It's like I'm sure that's gonna be okay, and we'll go back to celebrating Christmas and all them other things. But they won't get rid of shunning. They try to say like, well, you can greet them at the Kingdom Hall, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, you
Yeah.
know,
And that used to be a huge no-no. You had to treat
yeah.
them like they had leprosy when they came.
Oh man,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
not. But if you were an elder, you could talk to them.
Yeah. An
So
elder.
let me just tell you something. I would chat up all the disfellowship people all the time. I'd use the privilege that I had because I was like, I remember there was this one single mother, and so she's got a 4-year-old kid, and she's pregnant, and she got disfellowshipped, and she's sitting in the very back of the room, nobody helping her, just by herself, and she was coming to the meetings. I'm like, what type of power is that they can do that to somebody? Absolutely horrid, you
Yeah.
know. And I would check on her, like, you all right? I says, do you want us to take the baby? It's like, and then you get judged for
Oh
bringing the
yeah.
baby to your seats, because
Yep.
it's just like, ooh. But now it's okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, but the shunning, if they get rid of the shunning, they lose all their power, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. For
they
real.
lose all their power. And
For
I'm like,
real.
if you want to stay in that, and that's your social club, that's your community, fine. But I'm like, no harm to others, no harm to self.
Yeah. And
And
that's
they
what I
they
tell
fail
people.
miserably with those two things.
Yeah. I tell people that they ask me why do I hate witnesses and things like that. I do not hate witnesses. For the majority, the average witness just want to lead a good life. I
That's
have
right.
nothing. I have nothing against the witnesses. And one gentleman earlier this week, he commented on one of my posts, and he said he loves the witnesses. They
Mm-hmm.
literally saved his life. He was on addiction and everything, and I told him that's great. I
Um,
recognize, like you mentioned earlier, that religion holds out this hope that some people need.
yeah.
I'm not there to knock any of that. I'm not here to knock personal choices. I'm just bringing awareness, like you are, to different aspects of the organization. But yeah, that shunning part is crazy. I left in December of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people assume, the ones that leave the little snarky comments, they assume I got disfellowship. I
Mm.
didn't get disfellowship. I stepped down from being a ministerial servant and I just walked away. Walked
Mm.
away in December.
Mm-hmm.
No one reached out to me. Like I did a lot around the congregation. No elders reached out to me. No pioneers, no publishers, none that called me their friend. I had two elders show up at my door like late August.
Mm-hmm.
So from December to late August, I wasn't even at home. I saw them on the ring camera, but that's just still another facet of the organization that I like to bring awareness to, that
Yeah.
they offer love, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
very conditional love.
Sure is.
You have to jump through the hoops that they tell you to jump through if you want to
Mm-hmm.
receive that love.
That's right.
And you and I know when you walk away, you're
Yeah.
not jumping through hoops.
That's yeah. Yeah. But that transactional mindset,
Mm-hmm.
that thing, man, it messes with you
Oh yeah,
because then you start doing that with your relationships with your mate, your relationships
mm-hmm.
with even your children, if you have children, or work. It's like, man, it's a terrible way to live.
Yeah,
It's a terrible way to live. But that's how you're conditioned, and man, it's really hard to wipe out several decades of that type of
yeah,
indoctrination.
it is.
So
It's
it's
something.
tough. It
That
is.
brings me to a great point.
Yeah,
I know a gentleman that wrote some books.
I did. I had to think. I was like, well, I don't know this gentleman, but you
Oh
just
my
called me
goodness.
Jared. Yeah,
Can you tell us about your books, please, and how we can get them?
I'd be happy to. I wrote a book on leadership. It's called Authentic Leadership: What Really Works, and that's more in line with I think it's a secular help. So that's a great book, and you can get it on Amazon. I'll throw you a link that way if
Mm-hmm.
anybody is interested in that. That's my background. Is I actually one kudos to the JW world is those theocratic ministry school talks. I can talk to people. I was like,
Yeah.
I just so nice. I get done from a sales pitch. They don't hand me a slip that says you need to work on that again. Inside joke, you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah. Or I got a G. I'm good. I'm
Yep.
good. But anyway,
Yep. Get the
yes. So
G's.
so I wrote a book, Authentic Leadership: What Really Works, and so that's a very it's a very good book. And I will tell you the point why I wrote it is because of the fact that that secondary education or college education was something that was frowned upon. You could actually get into judicial committees for that, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
they just threw that out, right? They're like, hey, you can go to college now. I'm like, thanks for that. Um, but I wrote the book from the perspective of that there are people out there who are super intelligent. They have that it factor of being able to lead people, but they don't think they can
Mm-hmm.
because nobody ever
Yeah.
gave them an opportunity or a shot. So that book takes it from that perspective of work on the simple things and how you can be a leader regardless of your education, your background, or anything. So
Okay.
that's the passion behind that. But the book that I would say that is more appropriate related to what we're talking about, I redid the cover, so it's got a hot new cover, but it's called
Oh
Burn.
yeah.
It's called Burn the Scorecard. And the scorecard, I was going to put a time slip on there, but then that wouldn't make any sense to people that aren't JDubs.
Yeah.
But you think about that, it's like we look at that time card as far as how much field service time we did, and or how many magazines we placed, and that was like our we put that in the box or hand it to the secretary, and it was like that was letting everybody know I'm good. God loves me. The elders
Yeah.
approve of me. My
Yeah.
mom can say, well, how much did you write down on that slip? You know, my grandma will be like, there ain't no way you got that much time. I saw you at McDonald's at break time. She was hardcore. But anyway, I digress, Mitch. You know, we could probably talk for all day and all night, but we got to keep it on point. But anyway,
Oh
um,
boy.
yeah. But I was thinking, I was like, but all of us, regardless of our background, I think we each have a scorecard, as it were. Like if you play golf, you write down how many times it took you to hit the ball to get it into the hole, or you know, you keep your stats if you play basketball, whatever it is. We get obsessed with that, and the thing is that mindset gets moved into things that are related to relationships,
Mhm.
where we start to take score like, well, man, I bought Mitch a glass of bourbon, and
Mhm.
then next time we went out to eat, he didn't buy me nothing. It's like, and
Mhm.
or I told somebody I really appreciate them, and then they didn't say anything back to me, and
Yeah.
that transactional mindset gets us into trouble because of the fact that if we and this is the other part of the book title, but if if we're dependent on other people's view of us, other people's love and interaction with us, and we keep that as like our barometer, our scorecard, then we're going to live miserable lives.
Yeah.
We're going to be so miserable. And I was
Mhm.
that miserable person. And it isn't until the past 5 years where I truly feel loved. And I had to work on myself, and I had to realize that I'm loved regardless of my problems, my faults, even my mistakes that I make. And
Mhm.
it's not a free for all. I can just do whatever I want and it's all good. That's not what it's
Yes.
saying. But
Mhm.
that book, if I was going to recommend a book, not to deconstruct your faith, because there's some awesome books out there. What's the one lady that she's been on the Facebook page she hosts, but she wrote a really good book. Last name Harden. Um,
Oh, best
Thank
life
you.
after.
Best Life After. Yeah, great book. Bought it, read it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's an amazing book. And when I was thinking, like, once you get past the point where you've deconstructed your faith and you decide where you want to go with things, I think it's good for us to develop a mindset of how do I how do I get along with other people or not get along? What
Mhm.
does that look like? And that's
Yeah.
that's why I wrote that book. And that book's very easy to read. I mean,
Okay.
shoot, you could sit down and you could probably read it in 2 hours, three
Oh,
hours at
okay.
the
All
most.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Real simple, but it's on Amazon. I'll shoot you the links so you can
Yeah.
throw them up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, and if somebody out there, if you're listening and you're like, well, I don't have the money to buy it, I'll mail you one. Um,
Oh,
I'll,
wow.
I'll send you
Nice.
one
Okay.
because I think it's important that we think about the what am I going to do after I'm out.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That's very important, and I can speak that firsthand because yeah, I was just kind of lost
Hmm.
after 54 years of that
Yeah,
being my life.
yeah,
And I'm still, some days I'm still lost,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, please send me those links so I can add it to the description of this episode because I
Yep.
want a lot of what I do is just to raise awareness and to be honest and transparent about the organization. The
Hmm.
other part of what I like to do is talk about healing.
Hmm.
Like we've had different types of hurt dealing with that organization, but I think it's
Yeah.
important that we heal and discover who we are now
Yeah.
outside of that organization and
Hmm.
thrive. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're a
Yeah.
great example of that. Yeah,
Well, I
you
appreciate you
like I say,
saying
you
that.
helped me a lot. You helped me a
Well,
lot. Yeah.
thanks for saying that, Mitch. You know what? It's folks like you that give me energy because of the fact that it's bringing positivity into the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always going to be positive, and
Mm-hmm.
some days we're going to have really crappy days, and that's okay too. I think that we don't give ourselves enough grace. We again, that treadmill we talked about earlier is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to change the mindset, and I liken it to like climbing a mountain. We always focus on that peak, and we like zoom in and we see, oh look, I'm laying down in that journey. And you don't realize, well, you just climbed a whole bunch and now you got to stop and lay down. Or sometimes it's just walking and you feel like you're not making any vertical progress, but you're still getting closer to the peak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like you just keep moving, but sometimes just keep resting for a little bit. It's listening to what we need to do. And the other word that I hate is people say, I had a setback. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I felt like I'd really healed from my JW life and then I spiraled for a little bit. That's not a setback. That is, it's kind of like when I like to do woodworking. That's like my hobby.
Mm.
And you'll sand a piece of wood really smooth. And then you put that first coat of stain on there. And then all of a sudden it brings out that you missed some spots
Yeah.
when you were sanding.
Yeah.
And so you got to sand it a little bit, clean it up, and then stain it again. And I just think it's like,
Mm-hmm.
as we continue to make progress, we're also going to notice there's other things we want to work on. And those aren't setbacks. Those are just opportunities to refine us. And there's other things I think is like, there's things that are going to be part of my life till I die that are because of me being a Jehovah's Witness. But I always say that our past doesn't define our future,
Exactly. Yeah.
and so like you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And I know that's an overused cliche, but they
Very true.
they they taught us so much to not give yourself any credit and that nothing you did is because of you. And it's just like, man, I was
Yeah.
like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way to think.
Yeah.
The
Causes
father
losses.
brags
Yeah.
about their children, right? And the children
Yeah.
like, that's my dad and he taught me this, and the dad's proud of you and everything. I was like, well, that's the way it is now. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you
Yeah.
believe in God, God's proud of you for the things you're doing and you're using your talents however you're using them. But I was like, man, they just couldn't let you have any type of being proud of who you are,
Oh no.
you know.
No. You're not showing
Nope,
humility.
that's right. You gave such a great talk, Mitch. And immediately, what'd you have to say afterwards? You can't say, "Oh, I
Oh
worked
my
so hard
goodness.
on you." Like, oh, it's all Jehovah.
Yeah. For real. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though you put hours and hours into it.
I mean, I laughed because I was like, well, I said, obviously Jehovah wasn't blessing some people because them talks sucked. Them people were terrible. They should not be in front of people. I used to be the talk coordinator when I was a ministerial servant, and they'll be like, please don't invite him back. I get a line of them say, don't you dare. Who
Yeah.
invited him? I'm like, I didn't know. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh man, I know. Yeah,
anyway,
my
that's a whole
father.
nother story, but
Yeah, my father was a talk coordinator, and yeah, we'd be going home sometimes, and he'd be like, "Well, don't expect him back." You know.
yep,
Oh
yep,
man. So in closing, because I
yes,
asked this of all my guests,
yes.
what would you say to either the person that's still in the organization but they have doubts, and what would you say to those who have just left?
So I would start with the individuals that have doubts. Those doubts, listen to your gut. Don't act on your gut immediately, but use it as oh, I need to investigate this more. Make the decision your decision. Don't do it because you read things on the internet, or don't listen to me because I said that they got all these terrible things going on. Prove it out to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to do the investigation, then don't make the decision. If you are ready to make a decision, make sure you make your decision based on your research and your research only.
Yep.
Um, you have to, they talk about, remember they said you need to prove the truth to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that one step further and say you need to prove to yourself that it's not the truth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you don't want to do that, then stay there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody processes things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then for those that have left and they're struggling, I just say it's okay that you're struggling. That's part of the process. It's a brutal time, and what I would just say is try to get to the point where you can transition from anger to heal and find your peace,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not worth it to stay in anger. there's some bad things that have happened to me. Mitch, you've had bad things happen to you. We you know what? It's like the people that do bad things to us, that's their fault. But if we
Yeah.
continue to allow it to affect ourselves, then that becomes our fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I might catch some flack for that. And what I mean by that is like it's not that things won't come up later on. We can't keep it down forever, but it's like don't let it define you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't 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 do that and try to find healing, find community. And going back to those that are thinking about leaving, try to build up your community now. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that's one of the things that helped me
Yeah.
is when I knew I was done for as far as my mind was out, I was physically in, mentally out. Starting in 2014, I
Mm-hmm.
started to build friendships with men at work that I knew I could like, hey, you want to go have a beer or you want to go hang out, play basketball, something, go to the gym, and you have to find that because I've seen people leave and they go back and they're not going back because they know that it's the truth. They go back because they're missing that social part, and we are social creatures by
Mm-hmm.
nature, so we have to have that. And so, if you have another network, then the power that they have of shunning goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And like me, I had half a family that I never hung out with because they were Catholics and Lutheran or they weren't anything. And now that's my family, my fleshly family. I've been reconnected with, and we get to celebrate Christmas together, and we wish each other a happy birthday, and it's just absolutely awesome. And
Yeah.
so it's like just try to look for the good, find the good, but find your peace. And
Mm-hmm.
when you find your peace, that's where you can actually heal because you can't see the bottom of a pot when the water's boiling, can you? I mean, so you gotta get it off the burner and let it
Yeah.
simmer, and that way you can have some stability. So that's my parting word, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Mitch. I'm so glad that we found each other, because man,
Yeah.
we I connect.
Mm-hmm.
You got a very similar story, and just the smile and the positivity that you bring. Never stop doing that.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Man, this has been wonderful. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This is our second time recording. The first
Yeah,
we
yeah,
recorded some weeks ago. I
yeah,
was just not happy because I was working out an echo. But I'm so happy we did this over because it was a small part of me was like, I think they can understand, but I was like, no, this is too important. Like I felt this
yeah.
episode was too important for people to
Yep.
be like, yeah, it was an echo. I just wanted them to
Hmm.
hear. I wanted them to
Yeah,
hear you clearly because this was
yeah,
important. I appreciate the parting advice that you gave because that's something I did not do. I did not build a community before I walked away.
hmm,
And firsthand, I tell you, it's miserable because you just feel all alone. So
yeah,
that advice
yeah.
that you gave about building a community is very important. If
Hmm.
you are someone that's listening or watching and you're thinking about stepping away, please get a community first because
Yeah,
I have talked to numerous people that message me and said they're thinking about going back because they have no social life, and I'm like, oh my
yeah,
goodness, please don't. But like,
no, yeah,
so
yeah,
so build a community. I appreciate you being very candid about your years when you were an elder, and I hope it helps individuals just to see to add more light to the organization and how they operate. And I think I speak for both of us. We're not trying to dog out individuals in the organization. We're bringing light
no,
to the organization as a whole,
hmm,
and
yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of beautiful people
yeah,
that are the
yeah,
Jehovah's Witnesses.
hmm
It's not
yeah.
them.
No. It's not the average witness we're talking about. It's
No.
the governing body and their helpers and elders
Hmm.
around the world that help cover up these predators.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But I appreciate it. Please send me the link so I can add that to the caption, the description of this episode.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, man, I feel like we have known each other all our lives. We have some southern
Right?
roots,
We do.
and I
We
think that's
do.
what kind of draws us.
Yeah.
But man,
Yeah.
you like another brother to me, man. I
That's
love you.
right.
I'm so glad we
Hey
met,
man,
man.
love you too, man. Hey, I'm game with that. We just got to figure out how to connect and actually
Yeah, yeah. We have
physically
to
meet
meet
up.
in
We're on
person,
opposite
man.
coasts, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have to meet in person one of these
Yes,
days soon, man. But
absolutely, man.
thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. And you're very appreciated.
Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome, and thank you for what you do. And hey, I'll see you on the XJW network, man.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you all for listening and watching. Like he said, if you're ex-Jehovah's Witness, we do have a private Facebook group. We have a great community there, loving, non-judgmental. You can find me on all social media platforms. Just look up EXJW, so it's EXJDUV. Um, as always, I wish each and every one of you wellness, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. Let's work on healing and let's work on caring for each other. And until next time, uh, love everyone. Hope to see you soon.
See y'all later.